I had the pleasure to be the classmate with Linus Torvalds, who actually invented the Linux, the operating system that many of you have heard about. But during that time, something else interesting happened. Mobility came internet, and that really started to change our life. So basically, I have been 30 years, almost soon, working in the industry and seeing the change. What has happened since 90, what will happen from 2050 onwards, we cannot even imagine. Ericsson is talking something about the network society. You can call it the industrial revolution also. But for us, a network society where every person, every industry is empowered to reach their full potential. And I would say that many industries has not yet reached their full potential in the world. We heard a lot about what the previous speaker was doing with mobile phones and the connectivity and looking at what is happening for people moving. But looking back in the history, actually, you showed the Ericsson picture also. But starting from the 90s, 2000, the mobility came, and after that, the evolution has been very fast. Looking at a similar picture, here we can see it took like 100 years to connect 1 billion places. With places, I mean houses, businesses, whatever, with starting from telephone, telegraph, and so on. Then it took 25 years to connect 5 billion people. Now the big question for us, in Ericsson at least, and for many industries, is what will the Internet of Things do? Will it be 50 billion connected devices in 2020? Will it be less or more? But anyway, the increase of internet connections for the things will dramatically increase. That is for sure. So the development phase will grow in a very fast pace. Looking at mobile broadband, where you take all the data to do your data analytics, we can see that today there are 3 billion mobile broadband connections in the world. Within 5 years, there will be up to 8 billion. That's a lot. That's a lot of data that can be used from the phone to really do analytics, what we showed in the last presentation, what is happening in the cities. One thing to remember also that 70%, one prediction says that 70% of these people will live in cities by 2050. So there will be billions of mobile broadband connections in the cities. And of course for Ericsson it's very interesting, it's put a lot of attention on the networks. Self-driving cars was mentioned before. I don't believe that self-driving cars will be a reality before we have 5G, which is the next generation of networks coming out, where the delay is lower and the speeds are higher, but that we can debate in the panel. And my colleague will talk about the 5G more tomorrow, why we really need 5G. Today in Estonia, the country is covered with 4G, but that's not enough. Yes, for mobile broadband activities, but not really for machine-to-machine activities, when you need the communication and data to flow very fast. Looking at from our perspective, mobility, broadband, and cloud will be the main driving force for the network society, or the industrial internet ICT revolution. And we are at a reflection point today. A lot of networks has been installed, a lot of sensors has been installed. We have started to see driving cars, microgrids connected, and so on. But we are at a reflection point in that sense that we don't utilize the infrastructure investments enough today. So we see a lot of change in business models. We see a lot of new applications, new ways of working coming up. But usually we talk only about what will this do for people. We have seen smartphones, we see smart homes. That's maybe important for you as architects, how to develop a smart home. We start to see smart cars, what was mentioned before. We see connected cars today. Will we see in 3, 5, 10 years self-driving cars? That remains to be seen. But one thing that we usually forget to talk about is the smart enterprises and smart factory. So maybe when we talk about industrial evolution as an industrial revolution, then we should also not forget the what will do it for the industries, the manufacturing plants and businesses. So if you took a look at it from this angle, yes, Internet of People is already there, Internet of Services is there, tweets, Facebooks, Ubers, etc. But the Internet of Things, it's coming. And the Internet of Things will also come to the enterprises, to the manufacturing part. So what was mentioned before also by President Ilves is the Industry 4.0 is the German vision of a smart connected world, also for the factories. And I think maybe this is quite important for you architects to also think about. It will not only happen for people in the cities with cars, etc., but the factories, the plants, the businesses will also change, and they will kind of develop in the internet world. This is a view of, if you talk about the third industrial revolution or the fourth, the name of the symposium is third industrial internet revolution, but I actually say it's a fourth. The third one was when we started to do automation inside the factory, and the factory started to develop with computers, and the computers steered robots that produce something. But now we live in the fourth industrial revolution, when internet, web services, and cyber physical systems will start to play a bigger and bigger role. I will not so much talk about mobility today, like the previous speaker spoke about, even though that Ericsson's main business is mobility. I will not talk about energy, which will be a part of the fourth industrial revolution with microgrids, renewable energy, and so on. I will not talk about transportation, like self-driving cars, but I will talk about what is it for the smart industry. And this is something for you maybe to think about when you design your next factory, business building, or whatever you design. It also will have some requirements in the future. What we talk about when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, it will be not only a connected plant, it will be not a connected product, it will be a connected ecosystem. And this is something for you to think about. A smart city or a self-driven city. Self-driven city is not the cars driving here and there by itself, but a self-driven city will be also a city that will work more in real time. In real time, data moving on, products moving on, invoices moving on, like we are working here with Ralph in a project between Finland and Estonia. It will be an ecosystem. And for us to have a smart city, we also need to think about this. I don't know how much it means for you as architects, but for sure it means something. It will be a connected ecosystem, things moving in real time. Talking about cyber physical systems, I don't know yet, nobody can say yet if this puts requirements on the building and architectural of buildings. But the cyber physical system is actually a product that is manufactured that has all the data necessary for its manufacture requirements incorporated. So for example, if you build a building and you get a lot of pieces to the house, or whatever you do, most probably it will be that product, that part of the building will come in with all the data needed inside the product itself with some kind of RFI tag or whatever tag we can think about. So this is a cyber physical system that is connected to the internet, that you know where the parts and blocks are moving. So this is the German vision of how they will create the efficiency in the manufacturing industry that is needed for Europe. Unfortunately, a lot of industries has escaped from Europe since of high labor cost. And that's why the Germans have now to think about, and we have to think about what to do things more smartly. So the manufacturing sequence will be adaptive depending on the current situation and customer demand. Again, a lot of more data moving here and there, important for telecom, but also important for a smart working city. How will the goods move? How will you order things? How will you produce things? That you have enough supply, or not too much, not too less. And we should not forget either that the human role will stay. Everybody else also, we can debate it in this panel, that what will happen with the humans? Will the factories work on their own? No, they will not. They need supervision, they need planning, they need coordination. So the job roles will change. What it might mean for you as architects, difficult to say yet, but for sure keep this in mind when you design your next factory, for example. The reason for why doing this is actually Germany taking such a strong role in the fourth industrial revolution is that industrial production in Europe, unfortunately, is soon smaller than in Asia, and the factories are going there, so we need to take care of that this workplace stays in Europe. Actually, Ericsson 5 or 6 years ago invested in a factory in Estonia, and it was one of the first ones that actually brought activities back from Asia to Europe. So it's doable in that sense, in our case at least. But for us to find efficiency in other factories, the industrial revolution, the fourth one, is important. Maybe a too difficult and technical picture of the future factory, but then you can see an ecosystem between the supplier, the seller, etc. And what President Ilves and the previous speaker talk about is we talk about cybersecurity, we talk about online data, we talk about cloud computing, things that maybe today is not a reality in many factories. So we're talking about the same things, what we do for people with analytics, now we do it for enterprises also. So do not forget the enterprise part. What it's all about, maybe it's not so interesting for you, but it's an ecosystem of plug and produce. This is maybe the biggest change, that you have production modules that needs to move with flexible way in the building. This is for you, for architects, to figure out how can you move a production module fastly with high speed into a new place to produce something else within a few hours. And of course the smart object, the cyber physical systems, how will you incorporate that in your planning of a new building that you will know when the right stuff is coming. So there's a lot of in the kind of industrial 4.0 for everybody, also for the architects to think about. Is it a hype? This is the famous Gartner curve from the ICT industry. Yes, it's a bit of a hype today that we will have self-learning factories. We have factories without people working there and everything is automated. But for sure it will come. Will it take 3 years? Will it take 5 years? Will it take 10 years? We will see. But it will be an industrial revolution, a real big change for the factory workers and for the environment they work in. This is an interesting picture. Germany is the leading country in kind of taking the manufacturing and fourth industrial revolution into the next step. Estonia, for example, even though that Estonia is highly appreciated e-government country, Estonia is seen as a hesitator. So here is something that we should drive together to also create Estonia as a kind of forerunner in industrial internet revolution, even though that we are in the e-government sector. So this is something to think about. Why are we still regarded as a hesitator? Where are we now? I have seen the first smart factory with a fully automated production line rolling on wheels in a house that you can change within hours to do something else. And it's really so that you order the product from internet, then the signals, the data is sent to the production facility, it's produced, and then it's thrown out into the smart logistics. That is demonstrated today. But the question is that when will this be a reality? Does it take 5 years? Does it take 10 years? It will take time, but this will come. And this will be also part of a self-driven city that is smarter and smarter. So again, do not forget the enterprises that work in a city. If we manage to raise the competitiveness of the enterprises, the city gets more tax money and the city will be better off. So it's not only about people, it's also about enterprises. The Industrial Revolution, it's not only about what happens in the factory. As I mentioned, it's things that happens around the factory, like smart mobility, self-driving cars, self-driving lorries, taking the products from one place to another. We talk about smart grids, renewable energies. We talk about smart logistics. We talk about smart products that have all the data inside, what it needs to be further shipped or further produced or whatever. But we also talk about smart buildings. And that's where you guys come in. What does this industrial revolution take from you for the future industry building or factory or manufacturing plant? What requirements does this put on you? We don't know it yet, but I think the most important thing is that the dialogue will be open. This is the first time I'm actually speaking to architects. So I was a bit confused to what to really to speak about, because you can go very into technical details. But to think about it, the future smart building, what the internet world, the industrial revolution world is putting demands on you, that should be a cooperation, and the discussion should be started as early as possible. Like I mentioned before, maybe I should now, for finalizing my presentation, a few thoughts about what it could be. As I mentioned, 70% of the world's population will live in cities by 2050. This is a fact, this is studied, and there will be 2 billion vehicles on the roads, like we saw in the data analytics presentation from the previous gentleman, creating an algorithm that will control the traffic. Very good, but for that you need a very good network with very low delay, that it actually sends the signal from one place to another in a fast way. People will live in the cities, and of course this will put also pressure on the cities. Not only on the environment, but on housing, jobs, transportation, waste, health, and so on. So in that sense, first when I was getting the invitation to speak to you as architects, I was, what should I talk about? We live in a different world. But actually we do not. We have the technology. I can speak hours about technology, but it would be very important to show you what technology can do in the future and how it will affect your work. And this dialogue is very appreciated, at least for me, in this seminar. So it's not only about people, like we heard in the presentation, it's about businesses, and it's about creating a better society. And for us, as Ericsson, the ICT enables cities to address urban challenges and bridges industrial transformation. This is the most important thing now for Ericsson. There was a gentleman mentioned to me when I came to speak that, oh, you had so nice mobile phones. I mean, that was 15, 20 years ago. Today, Ericsson's main task is to be a part of changing the society to be a better place in different areas. Is it transport? Is it energy? Is it manufacturing? That's where we are. We are not doing mobile phones anymore. We are doing mobile networks though, and pretty good ones. Some innovation examples, if I still have some time. I don't know what the time is. Do I have some time, yeah? So if we take a look at how a smart city could look like in the future. I don't know if this will be a reality or not, but on down left corner you can see that a traffic light or a street light is malfunctioning. It will not be in the future so that somebody goes and look at, oh, this light is now broken. The light itself will send the signal and say, come and repair me. If we take a look at to the right, where the lorry is going out from the factory, it will be in real time. The supplier will have the system in the data of the supply in a database, and the receiver of the goods can see in real time how much of the goods are already packed on the car and when it is coming to the next location. It's also part of a smart city, self-driven city. So it's not only about cars, it's about smart logistics. Looking in the middle of the picture, a bit about autonomous driving. You have a bicycle coming to a corner. The bicycle will send a signal to the traffic light. The traffic light will turn green, and you can go forward. This was basically what we saw in the last presentation, in the previous presentation. So a lot of things on top of what you can do in a smart city, I mean, what you should think about when you design a city. There will be a lot of different use cases for different industry sectors. So the dialogue between the technical companies and you guys is very important. Something Ericsson is working on, take home message for you also. Connected print. This is first difficult to understand what it does, but actually it's a paper, normal paper, and you have printed electronics on top of the paper. And when you touch the paper, the bits goes through your body to a mobile phone. So your body can transmit up to 10 megabit of data. It's not danger for you whatsoever. So for example, imagine if you have a can in a shop, you touch the can and you get all the data on your mobile phone. Whatever can you do with a connected printed paper. This is a reality. This we have showcased. What will it do for the industry? For you, we don't know yet, but I can imagine that there is a lot of use cases in logistics, in shops, etc. It's quite fascinating. First time I tried to transfer music from one gadget to another gadget, transmitting the data with the body. You didn't feel anything. It worked actually. One small user example. Another one may be interesting for you, what I was complaining to your colleague in the beginning, that yes, we build networks. And our biggest challenge today is how to get the signals into rooms. This is a huge challenge. Now in this space, we have quite good signals, but in many spaces, the signal is not there. You need the data from the mobile device, you need the data from the sensor, you need the data from whatever. But to get the signal into the house is very difficult. It has a lot of technical reasons. I don't go into them. Because you build 2 good windows, you build 2 thick walls, the signal doesn't go through. You build a new house in the middle of Tallinn, then the signals are broken to the other ones that are behind the house, and then you're complaining, why is there no coverage? So what we will see in the future is actually maybe this innovation that you put the antennas in the window. Do you put in your projects in the future windows that has antennas inbuilt? I don't think you do it today, but maybe you do it in the future. Do you plan in your building indoor coverage so that you have as good coverage as you have outside? This means that you have a small radio antennas in the roof, in the wall somewhere. That needs to be planned also. You always plan for water, you plan for electricity, you plan for other things that should be in a house. But how often have you planned that there is a good radio coverage also inside the house? Has anybody done it? I don't think so. For us to have self-driving cars, the car going drive down to a parking lot by itself, it needs to have a coverage. It needs to have a good coverage. Do you plan those antennas, that coverage into the garage today? No. How to fix it for old houses is even more difficult, but you need to start to fix it for the new houses. If you want the car in a self-driven city to go into the garage, or some space where you don't get a good signal. The worst thing you see when you go to some place that, oh yeah, I have no signal, the quality is bad. Imagine what that happens to the self-driving car. It will crash, unfortunately. Other innovation examples, what we do is we put the radio base stations that transmits the signal. We put them in street lights, and we create them to be zero sites using zero energy. This is also part of a smart city, and we will see this more and more coming. Microcells giving you as consumers, enterprises, or cars, or whatever, a better coverage of the radio signal. A lot of things, of course, will be cableized still, but we will see more and more mobility, especially in non-Western European countries. One small other innovation, think connected bus stop. You design a bus stop today, but I don't think you put any connectivity in the bus stop. Then comes also always the question, but why should I have connectivity in a bus stop? There you see a few use cases where you could use the connectivity in a bus stop. You also create a better radio coverage for the guys that is all around the bus stop. Just another small example. 3D printing. Will this be a reality? But Jeremy Rifkin, he's sure that 3D printing of houses will be the future, and it will come sooner than we know. I'm not able to say, is it so, and is it coming, how fast, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But I have seen demonstrations. Houses are built today by 3D printing. Mobile phones can be built with 3D printing. I even read about a gun that was printed by a 3D printer, so that technology is coming. That technology should be also connected to the network. How does this affect your work in the future? I don't know yet. You will hear more about 5G tomorrow. But today we know about 3G and 4G and 5G. Many of you can think about why the hell do we need all these Gs? can't we do with our old GSM and old mobile phone? But unfortunately, if you don't in the future, or the city doesn't invest, or the operator doesn't invest in 5G, a lot of these things will not happen. Because if you drive a car 50 kilometers an hour, a self-driving car, and it doesn't send the information to the other car via the network in 0.00 milliseconds, you will crash. So I would say that today's 4G networks are not still there yet to be good enough. They are good, they are very good, but they are not good enough for autonomous driving and other sensor-based activities. If you have an over voltage in a power station, you need to switch it off in 0.50 milliseconds. And unfortunately, 4G doesn't cover that yet today, only cables. But 5G will come. 5G will be demonstrated in South Korea in 2018. I don't think it will be standardized yet, but I would say between 2018 and 2020, the 5G will be standardized and ready to deploy. Then is the question of how fast will the different cities or countries deploy 5G. But usually, for example, Estonia has been quite forerunner in deploying new technology. So maybe we'll together do a self-driving pilot in 2018, 2019 for certain cars. Is it an Audi? Is it a Volvo? Volvo stated that they will have the first self-driving car in 2017. So it's quite close. And because Ericsson is working on the connected car concept together with Volvo and doing the connectivity and cloud-based services for the car. And they also mentioned that the biggest challenge for them are the maps, that the map should be accurate enough. If you have a change on the road, that change should be reflected on the map directly. How to make that happen? I don't think nobody else of that can answer yet. So, a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities to do nice things, but we also have to have a reality when it will happen. It will happen, but it needs cooperation between more and more between different parts of the society. It should not be only technical people. It should be together with you guys. So I really hope that this is not the last time that we talk to each other and share thoughts. We need to make the cities more attractive. We need to make them more competitive. And of course, we need to make them more sustainable. More and more people will live in the cities. This is our job as a team, the technology, architects, and so on. Compulsory slide always. Ericsson should always show the last logo, so that's following corporate directives. So. Any questions at the moment? Or maybe we have the discussion in the panel. So, if no any questions, thank you.